When you go to buy a car, what do you really want? You probably want a lot of cars to choose from. And you want the dealership's best price. Not some starting price or target price, the best price. And you want it immediately, not after hours of negotiating. And you want a salesperson who doesn't get paid more if you spend more. Because, well, you don't want to spend more. Well, you're in luck. John Elway wants all of those things too. Better yet, John Elway wants you to have all of those things too. Come see it.
You know, the Nuggets keep winning, Woody. They won again in Orlando. And they're moving up. I believe they have a shot at the playoffs now.
They got what,
Just
11 or 12 games left? Yeah.
No, but what they are doing is, although they might be helping their own confidence, and Melvin Hunt might be helping himself to remove the interim from his title as head coach, they're not helping themselves in the draft. They're just not. I'm still trying to figure out what the Nuggets are doing here. Are they trying to tank? When management tells him not to play three starters, are they trying to tank? Or are they not trying to tank?
Well,
do they want to keep winning? What's going on here? I can't figure it out.
Well, I'll tell you what's going on. They've screwed up screwing up.
Yep, exactly.
How's that?
Exactly.
And you go, well, what exactly do you mean? They were attempting to, once they felt like they weren't in the playoffs and this team went in the crapper, they decided they wanted to improve their draft position. And they got rid of Brian Shaw, which was their mistake, because if Brian Shaw would still be here, they would be fourth. Instead, they're eighth. I counted it this morning or last night. They're eighth. They're not going anywhere. That's where they're going to be. The Detroit's passed them.
Yeah. Now we should tell everybody, though, just because you have the eighth worst record, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the eighth draft pick, because it's a weighted lottery. They could end up with something much higher than eighth. But let's assume they stick.
No, it's not going to happen.
Let's assume.
Okay, if you're the number one, the worst team, what's the worst team? The Knicks?
Yes, the Knicks and then Philadelphia.
Okay. So if you're the
Maybe
worst
Minnesota's
team
in that
and
mix
you
in
don't get one of those picks, you get the fourth pick.
Yeah.
So they're not going to move up much more than eighth or seventh.
Okay, so let's assume they end up with the eighth pick. This seems to be a fairly deep draft. Well, especially when you consider the overseas kids. So who do you want to see them?
No. Game changers, franchise changers, life changers? No. There are 4 or 5 players. That's why I wrote that, Les. I wrote that, lose the rest of your games, because they're considered to be 4 players. Okafor, would you agree there?
Yes.
2 players from Kentucky. And there's the kid who's playing in China, Munaday. Munaday. I don't know.
Muiday or something like that.
We'll find out.
Muiday, I think is how you spell it.
So that's the airport. But it's like
Muiday,
something like that. But I've watched YouTube of him. He's a great point guard. SMU would still be playing if he had gone ahead with his commitment, which wasn't much of a commitment, was it? He didn't go. He went to China instead. He was not interested. See, that backs up your point earlier, backs you up in the corner, because rather than, he didn't want to go to college. He wanted to play basketball.
All right, so with the eighth pick in the draft.
You brought him up earlier. I think there are 2 players that I would pick, and one of them I don't have the name of. I'd say this to you honestly. He's a freshman at Texas who's a center.
Okay.
And you go, well, they've got a center. Yeah, well, you pick the best guy out there.
Absolutely, and then worry about it afterwards.
So there's a freshman at Texas who's 6'11", and he's just below the group of great centers that are in. So is he a game changer? No, he's not. But you brought up earlier, I got rid of Lawson and I draft Joseph Young.
You like him, huh?
Out of Oregon. I think he's an energy player and a good shooter, good ball handler. I would bring him in, and Oregon, as you well know, runs a fast break offense. They're fast-paced like the football team. And I thought about this the other day. The coach probably said to the players, we're going to be like the football team. We're just going to run people around. Well, he's accustomed to being into a system that fits Melvin Hunt, or Dan Toney is another, whoever is going to be the next coach. And that's where Chris Dempsey and I just totally fall apart. Chris is on the show often, a great writer for the He says, whatever the coach's style is. No, the coach needs to adapt or already have run a system that runs the basketball.
Yes, he needs to have a system that takes advantage of the altitude here because it's a tremendous home court advantage, and he needs to play to his players' strengths, not pigeonhole them, not try to force a square peg into a round hole.
And that's what Brian Shaw was doing.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I did at Indiana. Well, tell me, the last time Indiana won a championship, I think, was in the ABA. I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Do you remember?
They've never won an NBA title.
Yeah, well, they won it. Won
I've been to the finals
ABA.
once, I think.
Yeah. So Indiana's not any better than the Nuggets were under George Karl. So I want to go back to the system that was successful under Larry Brown, Doug Moe, and under George Karl. You've got to add to that. You've got to have a good defense. Golden State has proven this year you can run the basketball and still be the most defensive, efficient team in the league. And people may not realize that about Golden State. So you can do both. You can figure out how to do both. So I would pick either Joseph Young or, forgive me, and we'll look it up, the kid out of Texas is the center.
Find us the name of the Texas center, okay?
Yeah.
I've read a number of mock drafts, Woody. You know who a lot of people have falling to number 8? One of the Kentucky kids, the center. Willie Cauley-Stein, the 7-footer. Big shot blocker. His game is unrefined, and he needs some help offensively. But how would you like that at number 8? Would you be happy with that?
Well, here's an interesting point about him. He's a backup. You know that.
Yes.
He's a backup. It's a hard
sell. Hell of a
sell.
defensive player, though.
It's a hard sell to people in Denver that you go, we got one of the top 8 picks in all the draft, and we are basically getting Matt Castle, the guy that will have not been a starter at Kentucky. Now, to go to your point, he is a first rounder. He is a top of the first round.
He's going to be a lottery pick.
And he's a guy that basically couldn't start there, but he could have started on any other school, at any other school in the country, could have started.
I got one
and
for you.
he is a good defensive player. He needs offensive skills. So to me, you're getting a Marcus Camby. So do you want Marcus Camby?
Well, he was the defensive player of the year one year.
I liked Marcus Camby.
I wasn't a big fan, but I mean, he was a very productive and long-lasting center in the NBA.
And still it remains a great guy in the community, in this community. And I just mentioned this, my daughter would go and serve, because he buys turkey dinners and does that for homeless people, and he still is involved in that in Denver. Good guy. Was a good, solid player. Didn't he play on a national?
At UMass. He got nailed for cheating.
Yeah. So, anyway.
All right, there's another guy out there that I like a lot. He's a beast, and he's a freshman at Arizona. And the Arizona kids say Stanley Johnson. He's a small forward, but he ain't so small. He's like 6'7", 235
That's what I said. He's a
pounds.
power forward in the pros, I think.
Well, Barkley played power forward at a much smaller size than that.
6'4", actually.
Yeah, 6'4", 6'4.5", something like that. So Stanley Johnson. How about D'Angelo Russell, 6'5" point guard from Ohio State? Now, you got to move Ty Lawson.
I don't want any more.
But here's what
more Big 12.
But I'll tell you what I would do. They've got tradable pieces, Wood. They've got pieces that other teams might want. On draft day, why not package Ty Lawson and or Kenneth Faried with your number 1 to move up into the top 3 or 4? Why not? There are teams that need a point guard like Ty Lawson. He's still one of the top half. He's in the top half of the point guards in this league. And Kenneth Faried is a good energy guy, probably should be coming off the bench, who can give you some rebounds and some garbage points. So if I'm the Nuggets, and Tim Conley's very aggressive, if I'm the Nuggets, I'm seeing if I can package and move up in this draft.
Well, of course, I feel like that's the best move. They screwed it up. They screwed up screwing up, and I repeat that. They couldn't even get it right to tank. They couldn't tank.
Yep.
They couldn't tank in Orlando. They went out and Gallinari scores 40 points, and you have to wonder what his future is. He seems to be playing either to come back here or to impress some other team.
I think they covet Gallinari. I think there are 2 guys they absolutely will not move now. We used to say it was just Nurkic. I don't think they want to move Gallinari now. I think they're seeing flashes of what they thought they were getting when they traded for him from New York.
And there were flashes of that before he got healthy, before he got hurt, and then he came back, and Brian Shaw totally screwed him up. I mean, he didn't know what to do this year. So Yeah, he wanted out of here. His agent said he wanted out of here. He probably still does. Who wants to play for the Nuggets? I mean, really, you can't get any
Not
free
right now.
agents.
Yeah.
Nobody here wants to play for the Nuggets. I'm just saying to you, there's nobody that's going to be in the top 4. To me, there are 4 players that can make a difference. The kid in China, Okafor, the 2 kids from Kentucky. That's it. That to me are the game changers. They're the Carmelo Anthonys, if you will, if you're talking about it. Came out after his freshman year, won the national championship at Syracuse. Dubious about what was going on at Syracuse at the time. So, if I'm one of those 4 teams, I'm not trading for Ty Lawson and his trouble and giving you my pick. I want the guy that's going to change my game. So I think it's going to be difficult for them to move up. That's my thought.
Maybe. A lot of teams can use a point guard like Ty Lawson, though. They
give me
can,
a
the Lakers.
break.
How about the Lakers? Who do the Lakers have a point guard? Jeremy Lin? Come on. He's a backup.
You want to tell people, we've just traded one of our top picks because Kobe just wants to play with Ty Lawson at point guard, and he wants Jamarcus Russell out of Ohio State.
Jamarcus Russell?
What you said? What's the guy's name?
D'Angelo Russell. Whatever. Maybe Jamarcus Russell should try basketball. Football didn't work out for him. That segment brought to you by
Do you know how
John
much he
Elway.
weighs?
John Elway Chevrolet, Colorado's #1 Chevrolet dealer.